Hello, hello. Welcome to our live stream. About to get started, so for everyone who's already here, thank you for joining. We're glad that you're here. Today is super exciting. We haven't had a live stream in a long time, but today you've got me, Noelle, and Mark Cromer, and we're going to be walking you through some of the new features in the Azure Data Factory. So yeah, why don't we get started? Oh, yay. Yeah, and we have the chat open, so if anyone has any comments or feedback, feel free to drop it in the chat, ask your questions. We love to hear from you. And of course, if there's anything you'd like to see in the next few live streams, definitely let us know in the chat as well. This is something that we're going to be bringing back, hopefully monthly. So every month you'll get one of these videos and some live demos, and hopefully we'll learn something new about what's up in Azure Data Factory. Cool. Yeah, so what we want to show you real quick is where you can find all the new updates in Azure Data Factory. So there's a really cool doc that we have called What's New in Azure Data Factory. And it's updated monthly, so definitely revisit it if you want to check out what we've been working on. We actually just updated this so that you've got all the updates from February. So a lot of new things happening in data flow and data movement, some region expansion and security. And you can definitely go back as well and check through all the other months. And definitely continue to learn more by clicking the links and reading up on the documentation. Awesome. So now let's check out some demos. So today we're going to be covering three new features that we hope you'll like and kind of work into your workflows. The first thing that we want to cover is actually something that was released a little bit earlier, but has some really cool capabilities. It's called external calls. And so with external calls, it really enables you to call out to external REST endpoints row by row. And that allows you to do some custom transformation or use some third-party transformations and kind of bring that into your data flow. At the moment, only REST is supported, but there will be some new updates coming up soon. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this data flow. So for this, I've got a little bit of data flow set up already for us to examine. And we're going to be using external call to mask PII data. So that's really cool. That's a really cool thing that we can do. And so I've got my PII sample data. If we wanted to inspect it, we'd have to turn on our data flow debug. So let me show you this real quick. And something new that's coming out is a faster data flow debug loading time. So if we keep an eye on this, it should get the cluster started in about 15 to 20 seconds, which is really much faster than what it has been in the past. So that's really exciting, and definitely keep a lookout for that. So yeah, see, our data flow debug cluster is ready. Woohoo! And once this is ready, we can start to preview our data. And for this, I've got some fake sample data in here that we can kind of play around with. So waiting for this preview. Actually, I might just make the rows a little bit less to make it a little bit faster. So while this is going, I'll walk you through what I was doing. I was just getting rid of some columns, so only selecting the ones that I wanted, filtering out the data to only find people with symptoms. And then in order to call out to our REST API, so for this, I'm using Cognitive Services. And Azure Cognitive Services actually has a PII masking API, which is really awesome. And so what I've done here is actually created the request body using the derived column transformation. So as you can see kind of at the bottom here, is this showing for you? I think it's not. Okay, there we go. Sorry, it was stuck on another screen. But as you can see here, I'm setting up my request body using the expression builder. I've already kind of set it up, so we can kind of take a look at it. But it'll create the request body for each row. And so as we had said earlier, external call is row by row. So when I send it out, it'll bring back the results for each row. So if you can see over here, we've got this request body that I've built. Cool. So for my external call, as you can see, it's currently REST, and my linked service is where I put in all the information to the API. So I've got my base URL, my auth header. So for this, I have my subscription key, which is saved using Key Vault. And then if you would like to use a relative URL for this, I am, because I would like to capture all default PII categories. And then you can set the mapping. So because my request body was in that one derived column, I'm mapping that to what I want to send out. And then for the output, you can import the projection, or you can set up the response body definition yourself. This one's a little bit complicated, so I actually pre-built this one. But if we want to take a look at it, it'll send it all out, and then what you get back is the request. So as you can see, these are my derived columns. We got a header here that came back, and we've got all the body. And so if you wanted to inspect the documents, it actually went ahead and redacted what was considered PII data. So I'm going to flatten this out so that you can take a look at it side by side. But as you can see, we've got a name, an email, phone number, age, and all of that is redacted. So that's really cool, and I'm sure that there are a bunch of other API calls that you might want to play around with as well, and so would definitely suggest kind of working that into your data flow. And if you would like to play around with this PII masker with Azure Cognitive Services, definitely go back and watch this video and kind of set it up and test it out yourself. Cool. Hopefully that's something new for you to learn today. Something else that we wanted to introduce is actually a new activity that was rolled out last week. It's called the script activity, and it's available for your pipeline. So if we take a look at pipelines, and we go to general, we've got this new script activity. Woohoo! And so the script activity in pipelines is really going to give you the ability to execute a single SQL statement, or you could even do multiple. And I will go ahead and show you how you can do that. But you can use this to execute a lot of common operations with DML or DDL statements. So you can use select, update, inserts. You can also create, drop, and alter tables. You can truncate tables. You can still run your stored procedures as well. So there's a lot that you can do here. So if you want to take a look, at the moment, these are the linked services that are supported. So we've got Azure SQL Database, Azure SQL Database Managed Instance, Synapse Analytics, Oracle, SQL Server, and Snowflake. And the good thing about script activity is that it also integrates really well with CI/CD, since the script is going to be part of the pipeline metadata. So that's a really good thing too. Let me show you what happens when you create a pipeline. So I've got a sample pipeline for you to take a look at. So with script activity, you can run queries that return information, or you can run non-queries as well. So for these two, I've got 2 non-queries to run, and I'll run them one by one. So I can create tables, I can check to see if something exists, and if it does, I can drop the table as well. I can insert into my table too, and if I wanted to, I could even break this out into another block, and I can just easily drop it in here. And you can select what you want. And if you mess up, of course, you can delete. If you wanted to add in parameters, you can definitely do that as well. And you can add dynamic content. And what's also really cool is that you can run select queries as well and return information in case you want to use it downstream in your flow. What's also really cool is that we actually have an advanced feature, which is to enable logging. So if you want to enable logging, you've got a couple options. You can send it out to an external storage. So if you would like to specifically set it into a storage that you have, you can set up a new link service and select where that file path will go. If you wanted to do it as an activity output, it'll actually tack it onto the end of the activity. So when you run a script activity, it'll give you what happens in the activity, and at the end of it, it'll add that logging information. So it's just appended on there. Something to keep note of, though, is that it can only write up to a certain amount of data. So that's 2 megabytes, I believe. And if it's anything more than that, then you would have to write to an external storage. Cool. So if you wanted to take a look at what happens when you run this, we can easily go, we can debug this, and we can see how it runs. So if you'd like to inspect what's happening, you can even read the queries that you've set up. You can look at if you have any log settings set up. So for this one, I did send the logs out to an external store. For this one, I just added it to my activity output, and as you can see, when I selected my top movie, it's got Tangled here, and at the end, we've got some more information. So execution duration, billing reference, and all this stuff. And this is all information that you can continue to use in your downstream activities in your pipeline if you need to. And then at the end of this, I've got a pipeline sending a notification to Teams. And as you can see, I've got a new Teams alert. So just letting me know what's going on here. It looks like I had a question. Can I show how you added parameters to this script activity? Yeah, let me go back. So, when you have your script, you've got this little drop down that says script parameters. If you highlight it, there's some extra information, so definitely make note of that. But you just click new, and then you can set your parameters here. Oops, let's look at that. So parameter 1, you can select the type. So we've got byte, boolean, datetime offset, decimal, double, a whole bunch. So you can select what you'd like. If you'd like to place the value, you can definitely do that as well. You can treat it as null or not treat it as null. And then direction, you can set as input, output, or input, output. Does that answer your question? Hopefully that helps. So a lot of different options here. And then, of course, if you need to delete it, you can get rid of that as well. But yeah, as I said before, this is fairly new, but hopefully it will improve your pipeline work or add some new capabilities that you didn't have before. So we're really excited for you to be able to test this out and do some great work with it. So the last demo we've got for you is actually with Azure Synapse Analytics. It's this new feature called Map Data, which is in public preview at the moment. So let's take a look at it. So this is a new guided process. Let me pull it up here. So it's a new guided process to help you create ETL mappings and mapping data flows to get your source data to the Synapse Lake without having to actually write any code. Low to no code, very visual process that will really help you to move your data. And so if we take a look at this, we want to look at data. I've got my lake database set up. And if you want to be able to see this little button, you would click on the 3 dots next to your lake. And then you would click open. And then you would be able to see the screen. What's really cool is that it's actually showing me all the tables that I have, and it's grouping it into the different types of table I have. And I'll show you how I've been selecting different tables that would end up under product or property. And what's also really interesting, it's got this little toggle screen over here that lets you move around and see exactly where your objects are. So I've got 4 tables floating around, and I can see them in the corner. So if anything gets really complicated and you have to move around a lot, this is really convenient. But yeah, let me show you what happens when you click Map Data. So when you click Map Data, well, first you're going to be asked to set up a data flow cluster, which I had already gone and done for the sake of time. But once that's up and running, you can set up a new data mapping. And so you can select your source type. At the moment, we've got your ADLS Gen 2 or the Lake database. For this, I'm just going to show you what's in my storage account. You can select your linked service. For me, that's demo storage. And then you can select your data set type. And so right now, only these are supported. So CDM, delimited, text, and Parquet. Once you selected that, you get to pick your file option. So for this, I'll walk you to my Airbnb data. And of course, you have a lot of these similar options that you would see in ADF or in Synapse pipelines. So I've got first row as header. I can set my delimiter, row delimiter, and all this other stuff. And within my folder, I can actually preview the data that I have there. So I've got 4 files, and if I wanted to, I can take a look and preview the data. This is in Excel, so it's not going to show, but let me show you a CSV file. You can see a sample of what your data looks like if you wanted to confirm that you're choosing the correct file. You can also take a look and inspect the schema, which is awesome. And then you can continue. And then you would just have to set the name of your data mapping. So test. And then you press OK. And it will take you to this next screen. I've already got it pulled up, so let me show you what the tab looks like. But it'll take you to a screen that looks like this. So on the side here, you can find all the tables that you have. And then here are the files that you selected in that previous panel. So I selected 2 files, so in this dropdown, I would be able to see 2. If you only selected one, you would only be able to see the one that you had selected. And you can set up new mapping. So in the target column, this would go into the table. This is actually the movie table I'm on right now, which is not what I wanted. I had set up a property type table. So that's actually the one I would like to select and move data into. So moving that here. And I can select the name, ID, or description, which is what's already set up in my table. So for this one, I've got ID. I have a lot of different options for mapping. So you've got your common mappings. You've got a bunch of aggregate functions. And you can have derived columns as well. And for this, I just have a direct mapping. So whatever is in my source file is what I want in my target column. So for this, I've got my listing ID, which is what I want in my target column. And let's add name. Property type name. And we've got one more column, which is description. And if you wanted to take a look at it, you could use data preview to inspect it. And once you're done, all you would have to do is create pipeline. If you have multiple source tables, then of course you can go to another table and create the mappings for that as well before you press create pipeline. Once you create pipeline, what is going to be generated for you is a new folder for your mapping. So when I had done this before, I actually named this Airbnb mapping. So if you take a look at it, you've got your pipelines here. that are automatically set up for you. And so because I had 2 different tables that I was creating mappings for, I've got 2 pipelines to execute. So these are the individual pipelines created for each table that I was mapping to, and then it's created one master pipeline that will execute both of them in order to move my data. And if you wanted to inspect what's happening, the activity that's happening is data flow. You can easily open that up and see what's happening. And so because I was only doing a direct mapping, it's just got my source, what's being selected, and then the sink that it's writing to. So if you have a lake that you don't have tables set up for, what you can do is you can easily create your own custom table. So if you click on columns, you can set up all the columns that you'd like. You have a lot of different options here. You can set the primary key. You can add in descriptions. You've got a bunch of different data types, and you've got different formats for them as well. So for example, if you're doing date, you can set the format of how you'd like that to look, which is cool. I think you might not be able to see this. Let me scoot this over so you can. Sorry, I didn't realize that was off screen. But yeah, so you can take a look at the different formats that you've got, and you can set those up the way that you like. If you'd also like to use tables from templates, which is what I did actually with my Airbnb tables, so you've got review and property type, you can actually take a look at all these tables, which is really cool. So if you take a look, these are all the different templates that you can look through, and they're all grouped by category. So if you're doing a lot of business work, you've got some business metric tables that you can take a look at, geography, HR and payroll. There's so many that you can take a look here, and you've got the table counts on the side too, so you can definitely see that there's so many. If this is a little bit overwhelming for you and you can't really find what you want, this is off screen again, sorry. And you can't really find what you want, you can actually filter by keyword. So when I was looking to make a table for customer reviews, I searched review, and these are all the different tables that come up. So you can go ahead and see if it matches with what you want. For me, product review worked really well, but you can go ahead and inspect and see if any of these work for you as well. And if you do click one, I'm just gonna pick one at random. It'll tell you a description, so you can take a look at it and inspect it and make sure that it really is what you want. Oops, where'd it go? Sorry. You can take a look at the columns as well, and most of them have a description, a basic description for you to take a look at. And of course, if you have many tables, you can set up relationships between those tables. If you have, sometimes it'll auto map the relationships for you as well, so you can play around with that. And if it's not the table that you're looking for, you can go ahead and remove it from your diagram, and it's gone. So yeah, and then if you've added previous tables, it'll let you know. If you're adding new tables, it'll let you know as well, so you're not accidentally duplicating or not actually getting the work done that you want. But yeah, that's Data Mapper. Map data in Synapse Analytics. Again, it's in public preview, so definitely something that's fairly new. And once you've made the changes that you'd like, you can publish it here, or you can publish it all. And when you're ready, you can definitely just run these pipelines and it'll move your data for you. I know that we're kind of at the end of our time here, but hopefully you learned something new today. These are some really cool features that should be out that you can play around with yourself and hopefully, again, integrate into your work. We're really excited about those, and hopefully you're excited about it as well. Yeah, we're really glad that you could tune in today, and hopefully you can tune into our future live streams as well. I'll be updating the description in this video, so if you ever want to come back and watch it, we'll have links to the documentation, links to the What's New in Azure Data Factory, so you can take a look at that doc as well, and links to our social as well. So if you are interested in getting updates or seeing some blogs that we really like, we'd suggest that you follow us on Twitter. If you would like to continue to see more demo videos, we often have demos of new features and interesting use cases, and that's updated pretty regularly, so definitely subscribe and like our videos. And yeah, as I said before, if there's anything that you'd really like to see, please drop it in the chat or post on social media and tag us in it. We'll review it and definitely would like to get your input so that we're showing you things that you're interested in. But yeah, that's all we've got today. Thank you so much for joining, and we hope you come again.